The topic of misinformation has become, common, very common in recent years, especially in this social media era. And it's not like misinformation and spreading lies and propaganda has never been a thing before this current period in human history. It's just that back then, only a few people had the resources to do, to spread lies effectively. Those people are who we know today as the dying mainstream media. But with the rise of social media, now no one has a monopoly on telling lies. And these established information monopolies are not happy with this current development. No, they are not. And this is not just in the West. It's everywhere in the world. The established media houses aren't happy with social media, and often they accuse these platforms of promoting and allowing the spread of misinformation. It is the oldest business tactic. If you can't beat your competition, accuse them of something despicable. Now, I'm not saying misinformation isn't circulated rapidly on social media. I mean, Twitter has become a hub for lies, and Facebook is the epicenter of nonsense views. But what I'm saying is mainstream media accusing social media personalities of spreading lies is an obvious case of the kettle calling the pot black. I mean, unbiased reporting died decades ago. Now, no news anchor or TV comedian is known for doing their jobs well. They are rather known for, taking a particular stand, supporting a particular movement, or propagating a particular agenda. Everything now is political. Like, everything is extremely political. Whether you are watching a local Nigerian news channel like AIT or a foreign news channel like Al Jazeera or CNN. To accuse any of these companies of being objective is like accusing Tinubu or Joe Biden of being young, physically fit, and mentally active. I mean, but the funny thing is, as absurd as this may be, and it may sound obviously false, it hasn't stopped mainstream news outlets in these countries from making this exact statement or bringing people on their platform to make such ridiculous assertions.
Totally understand. I just explained she was on top of mind.
It's called reporting, I guess, but it's okay for mainstream media and those on social media to have this fruitless debate about who is more credible and who tells the most lies. It is a fun game to watch, one of my favorite pastimes. But the problem, for me, is when the government decides to be the judge in this debate. But it's not just that the government wants to be the judge of this debate. They also want to be a contender in the ring. And we know the government of the day. I mean, the government of the day. Modern day government are incapable of telling a lie. Always truthful and willing to, tell and present accurate information to the people they lead. The United States, they have a position in the federal government in the United States. It's called the Office of the Press Secretary. In Nigeria, it is called the Minister of Information. And everyone knows, that anyone who occupies that position has a track record of never telling a lie a single day in their life.
I will say that the textbook definition of recession is not 2 negative quarters of GDP.
You don't have to try to keep the government honest. A democratic government is just honest by default, capable of only making factually accurate statements, which is why the Prime Minister of New Zealand in the recent UN summit told other nations that it is time for them to combat misinformation, which can be, quote, a weapon of war. Yes, take a look.
Sadly, I think it's easy to dismiss this problem as one in the margins. I can certainly understand the desire to leave it to someone else. As leaders, we're rightly concerned that even the most light-touch approaches to disinformation could be misinterpreted as being hostile to the values of free speech that we value so highly. But while I cannot tell you today what the answer is to this challenge, I can say with complete certainty that we cannot ignore it. To do so poses an equal threat to the norms we all value. After all, how do you successfully end a war if people are led to believe the reason for its existence is not only legal but noble? How do you tackle climate change if people do not believe it exists? How do you ensure the human rights of others are upheld when they are subjected to hateful and dangerous rhetoric and ideology? But we have an opportunity here to ensure that these particular weapons of war do not become an established part of warfare. And so, we once again come back to the primary tool we have: diplomacy, dialogue, working together on solutions that do not undermine human rights but enhance them. We have the means. We just need the collective will.
Wow. I mean, what year is this? Is this 1922 or 1984? And was that the prime minister or was that Big Brother? Hey, but remember, Giorgia Meloni is the protege of Mussolini, right? Why I guess Jacinda descended directly from Socrates. I mean, what a hero, trying to save us all from lies. But Madam Prime Minister, what would combating misinformation look like? Like, paint a vivid picture for me instead of throwing out mindless buzzwords like harmful and weapon of war. Yes, I guess your tactics is to scare us into believing that our enemies are those who we don't agree with and that we are at war with them, and the only way to win that war is to make sure dissenters don't speak. But I'm using the word us, which is actually the first time I'm referring to people using the wrong pronoun. Because there is no us, there's just you. You get to decide what is true. You get to decide what the rest of your people get to hear. You get to decide what they believe. And anyone who dares to raise a question needs to be silenced because you are in a war against misinformation. But what's the difference between your proposition? What you are proposing, what is the difference between that and another Monday morning in China? Look, I am from Nigeria. And not so long ago, the government of my country banned Twitter completely because they claimed that the criticism they received from the app was, quote, misinformation. Lie. Many, even mainstream news outlets, have suffered severely under dictatorships in Africa because the government of the day claimed that we are fighting lies and misinformation. So when I hear you make this annoying suggestion, what I hear is the next excuse my government will use for banning Twitter again, or worse, cut off our access to the internet.
Once again, we apologize, but we cannot bring you the news. It appears that we have no internet.
You're giving tyrannical African leaders more audacity to police speech and suppress criticism. And I find it extremely difficult to believe that you don't envy these African leaders. Maybe you want the powers that they have. But I guess you've deceived yourself by assuming that if you are given such power, then you will use it fairly to quiet actual misinformation and make the world free from what you deem to be harmful lies. But who the hell do you think you are? God? Morally superior and blissfully levitating above the rest of us simple-minded, gullible apes? What makes you think that you are right in your ideas? Even your narcissistic messiah complex driven ideas like saving the climate. Why can't I question your solutions or your analysis of the problem? Why can't I disagree with you? What makes you right and how am I wrong?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know.
Look, that is what free speech is all about, you dummy. It's not about truth or lies. It's about finding out what is true and finding out what isn't true, giving dissent a voice and allowing contrary views no matter how stupid, despicable, or ridiculous you think they are. It is the humility of saying, I am pretty sure I'm right, but I'm open to anyone proving that I'm wrong. It is the freedom to communicate and challenge ideas, understanding that we only know in part. None of us know none of us have the full picture. We only have the picture in part. Now she asks with that annoying, sympathetic tone of hers, how do you end a war if people are led to believe that the reason for its existence is not only legal but noble? How do you tackle climate change when people do not believe it exists? Or how do you protect the human rights of others when you are subjected to hateful and dangerous rhetorics and ideologies? That's a very wonderful question, and I have a very simple answer for you. Something that you may not have considered. Like have you tried convincing those people, showing them facts that negate their beliefs? I mean, do these people have evidence at their disposal that show them without reasonable doubt that they are wrong? If there is a statement out there that is a gross misrepresentation of the fact, then challenge those statements by using your government apparatus to spread what you have as the facts and leave it to each individual to believe whatever they want. You ask, what if they don't believe you? Well, as bad as that is, you can take solace in the fact that you tried. Or maybe you need to try harder. Or maybe you are wrong. Or maybe you should listen to the reasons for the disbelief and provide convincing evidence to put every doubt to rest. You run the government. You said it. You have the power. Everything is at your disposal to spread whatever narrative or propaganda you want. News houses will cover it. Social media will spread it. The whole nation will pause to listen to you. It has happened before. It will happen now, and it will happen again. They will listen to you. But if they don't believe you, it can't be the fault of those with contrary opinion. Maybe it's your fault. Maybe you are not being truthful. Maybe you are not convincing enough. Or maybe you just have to persevere and constantly report what you think are the facts. And if there is a negative consequences from this misinformation, well, at least you did your part, right? You told the truth. You can't save people from themselves. You are their prime minister. You're not their willpower or their inclination. You can't coerce people to believe you. And what if you are wrong? Right? What if you are wrong? Don't you consider such a possibility? Such thoughts don't plague your mind? How many times do you have to get it wrong to know that you are not infallible? I mean, I'm still recovering from the lies you guys told about COVID. Lies that many of you are not even willing to admit. You muzzled the whole world. You muzzled the whole world for the least deadliest virus known to man. My unborn children will see pictures I took with my masks on during COVID and say, can you believe that Dad and everyone alive at that time, we are so dumb they thought a cloth mask would prevent the spread of a virus. You people in power did that to us.
You can't do that to living people.
I'm still hopelessly waiting for the apology tour, which I'm very sure is never going to come. I mean, how many small businesses crumbled? How many frontline healthcare workers lost their job? How many people did you turn to germophobes? And maybe it was an honest lie. I guess you people did not know, which you wouldn't even say. But it was a lie nonetheless. A lie that you told. A lie you aren't even willing to admit. A lie that ruined global economy. So what makes you think you are right about climate change? See, the only way to fight lies, if they are actually verifiable lies, is to tell the truth. Tell it as vehemently and persistently as possible with every resource you have. And anything other than that is tyranny, a dictatorship, and it has never and will never end well. See, if there's anything I've learned from the West, it is the validity of this maxim. The truth will always prevail. So allow it to prevail.